Hey everybody, welcome back. I have my microphone, so the audio is good on this video. If you watched the last video, though, I forgot my microphone and the sound was pretty bad, so apologies for that. Now I have the microphone, we're good. So, from the last video, we were drifting this car over here. In the short summary, it's a E46 M3 that I picked up from a buddy, and we're building a drift car out of it, you know. It already has a few mods. It has the coilover, it has BC Racing coilover, so it's FDF angle kit, all of that works great. But I think we put like maybe 5 or 6 events on it, and I started hearing how there's a clunk in the back every time you get on and off power, which means only one thing with these cars, is the subframe. The subframe mounting spot. So it's a very common issue with these cars, so I'm not surprised it happened. I'm actually surprised it happened only on the 5th or 6th event, because I kind of expected it to happen sooner. So, but now that it's here, we have to address it. And from the last video, if you didn't watch it, we also have a cooling issue. The reservoir tank, the coolant reservoir tank cracked, so we gotta fix that. So combination of a lot of things, and also the fact that it's the second half of the year, and we really want to drift this car next year in Lone Star Street Legal. So a lot of things came together and pretty much resulted in the fact that E46 full drift build starts. And what I mean by full build is we're gonna pretty much address all the weak points, and we're gonna cage the car, a few other things, some power mods. The car is gonna be on jack stands for foreseeable future. I don't know how fast it's gonna happen. We have a few events that I'm gonna have to drive the competition car. Long story short, we're gonna have a build series of how we build our E46 M3 into a solid street drift car. Something that we can go to Cars and Coffee, something that we can go and drift the whole weekend without any problems. So yeah, that's pretty much the plan. Where we are starting is underneath the car. We have to address the subframe. That's one of the biggest issues, and it started making noise the last event. So I already started removing a few things from the exhaust, and so not surprisingly, I was gonna just get the muffler off, and I couldn't. The bolts were just, I tried heat, I tried everything. So here we are. If you guys don't know, this is where the subframe mounts. We already have the BC Racing coilovers, like I mentioned before, and these mounts over there. I don't think I'm gonna be able to show you. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but here you can see the crack. Let me do this. Yeah, see that hairline crack over there? That's what I'm talking about. Yep, it's cracked. We have to remove all of this to get to the cracked place, clean it, weld it, put a reinforcement on top of it, and put everything back. Maybe even reinforce it from the inside of from the trunk area. To get all of this off, we need to get the exhaust off, and that's what I was saying. I tried removing these bolts, they did not budge. So instead of removing all of this here underneath the car, that's uncomfortable, I decided to just disconnect the exhaust right here where the engine is, and just drop the whole exhaust and deal with it outside the car. Maybe even cut these bolts, or I don't know. As of right now, I'm gonna put a jack, support the exhaust, and disconnect everything. The exhaust is unbolted. I'm gonna lower the jack, and it's gonna probably fall on the floor spectacularly. So that's why I'm showing you guys. Usually I have it somewhere there, this being held by the jack, and just like that. Perfect. So the exhaust is kind of out. It's pretty long.
and I already sprayed some PB Blaster, and I'm gonna try to get these bolts off, separate it in smaller sections so I can store it way easier. This side came out relatively easy. This side is giving me problems. The bolt on this side already stripped. I don't know if you can tell. This one is being a pain in the ass as well. So the next move is this. Put some heat and then give it another try. Alright, so bolts did not give up, so I got the grinder, just cut them off, and now we're separated. Now I can put this away, put that away, and focus on the subframe.
Several days later.
Alright, so it's after hours again, and which means I get to work on the E46 M3. What I'm doing is I'm actually
Pretty much ready to drop the subframe. As you guys can see, the bolts are out, the brake lines are disconnected, the e-brake is disconnected. Pretty much all the axles are even unbolted, the drive shaft is unbolted. So pretty much right now, if I loosen the jack, technically the subframe is gonna start going down. So let's see if that works. I don't know how much you can see because I don't have a screen, but it's kind of going down. So what happens now is the front bolts over here, they're kind of being crooked now. So
fortunately, I'm gonna have to put you guys down and get the subframe all the way down, and then we can see how bad are the cracks.
And this side is actually fine. So just this side, and I was actually hearing this side. That was one of the reasons why I decided to do this now and not wait. And good call. Oh, the camera is super dirty.
So for my end, my update is the interior and all this that has been taken off. So started with the back, got the back panels off, that was not too bad. Got the seats out, or the back cushion out, and then kind of worked from the back to the front, took the seats out. That was sort of relatively easy. The hardest part was definitely the center console and the dash. Starting with the steering wheel, that was a pain in the ass. Don't want to mention what happened there, but after that, glove box, center console, and then the dash was able to get pulled out with a little bit of help from my manpower. Yeah, that's about it.
Several days later.
We left off with the part where I showed you the cracks. I already did pretty much everything to reinforce. I did not film it because it's one of the nastiest part of the project, and it's like working with a wire wheel and with an angle grinder. It's a lot of dust and dirt, and honestly I was like fully covered in all this gunk and paint scrubbed off and all of that. And then honestly, probably the most hated things for me to do on cars. So did not film that because there was a lot of emotional damage. So now that everything is nice and I cleaned the garage, and this is clean, trust me. I vacuumed for like at least 45 minutes to get all the gunk out. But now that it's kind of done, let me show you how the reinforcement went.
This is the one that was cracked. I have a better light now. And pretty much I cut the cracks, drilled on each side of the crack to prevent the crack from spreading, and then welded it, and then grinded it flash. Before that I had to wire wheel all of this out, put to clean metal, and then cut the crack, drill into each end of the crack, and then weld that whole thing, grind it flash, put the plate back on, and weld the plate around. Pretty much these, even after I wire wheeled them off, they didn't have any cracks, which is perfect. And these I just had to put the plate on, put the bolt to hold the plate in, tack it, and then weld it. Same on this side. This one had a crack over here, so I had to weld this crack. Same, drill the end and then weld it, and then didn't have to grind it flash because there's nothing goes here. This crack went kind of like this, so I did the same thing here. No cracks on this side, which was pretty good. So had to drop the tank lower by, I didn't have to drop it all the way. If you guys can see, I used the jacks and this piece of wood and pretty much dropped it. Luckily the tank is like less than half, so I was able to like hold it up and down.
The chassis is ready, and but our work isn't done. When I was when this work was going on, the diff was sitting on the ground like this, and it formed a puddle in the front, which meant only one thing: the seal over here leaked. I actually just replaced it, and I thought it's gonna be pretty long. Like, it takes usually some time to get the bolt out, to get the flange out, to get all of these things out. But it went so fast without any. This was super hard. This was probably paid off for that, because it literally took me like maybe 10 minutes to do the whole thing. And how you do it is there's a plate here that you remove, and then you remove the nut, and look what I did. So I put 2 spots with my what is that thing called when you make this tiny hole and then you can drill it. So I made that at the tip of this V, and then made it one on the X, and I took a picture, and then you remove the nut. Usually you need a puller to get this flange out. This one I just yanked out by hand. It wasn't even sitting that hard. And then the gasket behind the seal behind it, I just put a screwdriver in one side and then smacked this side, and it just popped off. And then the new seal just went in and tap around, and it just went full in. And then when you torque this back on, you just torque it and you make sure the knot stays at the same position, and you're done. Now I have to put the plate back in to hold the knot in place, and it's pretty much it. So let me do the plate and you'll see how it looks. So this is the plate, and you put it back in, you put a socket there, and you just hammer it a few times. Now it's back, and then you bend the plate into these holes over here, so that would prevent the knot from backing off. All right, pretty much done here, and so the diff is ready. Let me put it down before it falls. Cool. Next thing is the subframe. The subframe was had some surface rust here and there, and so I cleaned it up as much as I could. There's like a few spots that I couldn't get to, but it's just surface rust, and it's not gonna go anywhere. We're in Texas, it doesn't really rain here. The car is always inside. So I decided to go ahead and wire brush as much as I can. Wire wheel, wire brush, and just paint it. It's pretty much it's drying on this side, and once this side is dry, I'm gonna flip it and paint underneath. So that's pretty much what I'm waiting for now. While that's happening, I want to do some preventive work, like re-greasing the axles and re-greasing the CV joint on the drive shaft. But that's gonna be the next video. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.